Calquivi.
My name is Faith Tai.
And I'm Lizzie Giap.
And welcome to another episode on Teens Corner.
Woo! Today we have a very special guest, Jacob Mallon.
Thank you.
He is the founder of Unlimited Learning. Jacob, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I had graduated from UC San Diego in 2005 and did a lot of tutoring at that time, where I did mostly work elementary through college level, and then also SAT, ACT preparation. And then shortly thereafter, I had built the tutoring service into a company where I built up a large staff of tutors. Now we've got well over 150 different tutors to match with students. So I won't personally work with students anymore, but I'll meet for the initial assessment and then assign a tutor from there.
What are some special services that your tutoring company provides?
Well, the three main components we provide will be first just subject-specific tutoring for, as I mentioned, elementary through college level courses. Then number two is going to be our test preparation for the SAT and ACT. And then the third thing we provide is help with the essay applications for college, specifically picking out which schools you're interested in going to. Then once we have that full list, then letting you know having a checklist of all the essays you have to complete, when the deadlines are, and just get everything sorted out for you.
So tell me, Jacob, what is your advice to give to those who are in the process of applying to college? Because that is one very stressful process.
It is. And as far as the college application process, you don't have to wait until your senior year to get started. It's something you can really plan years in advance, as far as when you're a freshman in high school deciding what classes should I take throughout high school, whether or not I'm better suited for the SAT or ACT, when should I actually prepare for that test. Am I interested in schools that might require or recommend the SAT subject test? Because it's really about planning as far in advance as possible, so you don't get to the point where you're entering your senior year and wishing, oh, I should have taken these tests earlier, these other classes. But as far as the students that are entering their senior year and need to apply for colleges, they need to start to come up with a list. And you want to go big at first with the list. You want to decide all potential schools you're interested in, and different factors can affect that based on location of the school. Do you want to be in California? Do you want to be outside of California? Do you want a private school, a public school? What size of school do you want? What majors are you interested in? Just seeing what the different schools offer, and then doing a lot of research about those schools.
All right, now for me as a senior, I really have my heart set out on, let's say, like UC Berkeley. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's kind of a reach. Mm-hmm. But do you have any advice on how to choose like a backup school, or if I should go to community or a California state school rather than a UC school?
Yeah, so first you have to know what you offer in your application, as far as what's your GPA, what are your SAT and ACT scores, what extracurriculars have you been involved in. Then looking at, as I mentioned, after you've created that large list of schools, start to narrow it down. You really want to then decide, as far as most students will have about 5 to 8 schools they'll apply to, but you could want to go bigger than that. It's really up to you. But you want to make sure you at least have a couple safety schools where you're all but guaranteed to get into those programs. Then to have a couple match schools, which are ones you expect to get into, but it's not a guarantee. And then those couple of reach schools, so that potentially Berkeley could be that reach school for you, but you want to have at least a couple of those to give yourself a shot at getting into those schools.
All right.
It's really hard for a lot of us because we have to compete with other students who are just doing like the same sports as us and having like similar GPAs. So how do you balance between social life, extracurriculars, and schoolwork at the same time?
Yeah, obviously the application process is really competitive nowadays. So so many students have top GPAs, top SAT and ACT scores, and are also involved in a lot of extracurriculars, whether it be sports or other clubs and such. And it is tough to balance, and really it is important to manage your time. It really comes down to that in however you want to organize yourself, you have to build a system that works for you, where whether you have a calendar even on your phone, on your computer, a written calendar, something where you can plan ahead for your classes and know what tests do I have that week, what I have going on in my extracurriculars. We'll work with a lot of student athletes who have really challenging schedules, where then they start to become physically exhausted after school too, on top of being mentally tired too from school. So it is a challenge, and you have to balance it, and it really takes just time management skills, which you have to organize yourself for and really just put it into place. And then once you get going with a good system, then just be consistent with that.
So for me, I've taken both of these tests, and personally, I can't tell the difference between the two. I just know at the end of it, I want to get it done.
I agree on that, sister.
But a lot of adults ask me what's the difference between the SAT and the ACT, and as a student, I don't really have that much knowledge on both tests. So can you enlighten us?
Yeah, so as far as deciding between the SAT and ACT, as far as the colleges are concerned, it's not going to make a difference which test you choose. You just want to figure out which test you're better suited for, which one you're going to get that higher percentile rank on, so that, what's important to do is first take practice tests of each. Whether you take the actual test in the sitting, or something that we do through our company is offer full-length practice tests where you can really see what your percentile rank would be on each and whether or not you feel better suited for one versus the other. But there are major differences between the two in terms of the current format of the SAT. Has a reading section that has both vocab questions and passage-based questions, whereas the ACT doesn't have any vocabulary questions. It's just reading comprehension questions. The ACT goes a little higher level on the math side of things, where it's going to have some algebra 2, some more trigonometry involved, whereas the SAT is a little bit more algebra 1 and geometry based. A big difference too is the ACT has a science section, but it's somewhat misleading when students get worried, oh no, I've got a science section to study for, but you don't actually really have to prepare for physics knowledge, chemistry, biology ahead of time. It's more so a reading comprehension skill with charts and graphs and tables, and you really just need to build a skill set for that section because it's something that's very different from what you're used to in school.
How can one prepare for the SAT or the ACT on their own, or practice good habits in general?
So, in terms of doing it independently, there are different materials that are out there, different prep books that you can purchase. The College Board puts out the prep book for the SAT. They've obviously got the prep book for the current format of the SAT, what the new format's going to be when it's changing in March of 2016. The ACT puts out its own workbook, and you can actually learn from some of the real recent tests and get used to the style and see how consistent one test is to the next. But in terms of background knowledge, the SAT, you're going to have to study vocabulary. You're going to have to study the math background information in terms of the algebra and geometry. You need to know all your grammar rules for the test too. That's something also on the ACT, you have to have a strong knowledge of grammar. And as I mentioned previously, on the math section, it does go a little higher level where you will need to do a little bit of review in algebra 2 and trigonometry to get ready for those tests. But then at that point, it's really getting through as many practice tests as possible, seeing trends of types of questions you might be missing, and just trying to avoid those same mistakes in the future.
Wow, thank you for that, Jacob. Very knowledgeable.
As it has been announced, the College Board is revising the SAT, and I believe they're taking out the essay portion, correct?
Well, the essay portion is now going to be optional, so it won't affect the total score, which now in the SAT, it's going to be changing format again in March 2016. And the PSAT is actually changing format right away in October of this year. But this new format is going to be one where the essay does become optional, although most colleges will end up still requiring the essay, so it's probably a good idea to still sign up for the essay. But as far as the major changes to the test, the reading portion now won't have those vocab questions where it's about sentence completion. The vocab questions now will be more about using the context of a passage to figure out what the word actually means, and then more just passage-based reading throughout of longer passages in the reading section. There's still a section that's going to be based on the grammar knowledge, mixed in with just kind of knowing the structure of a passage and knowing where maybe one sentence should be placed within the passage, and that then the math portion is going to now actually have a calculator-based section, a non-calculator-based section. And then another big thing to notice about the new SAT is there won't be a penalty for a wrong answer anymore. So now you're welcome to fill in every question there, and you won't have to worry about losing any points on the new SAT.
So it sounds like the SAT is slowly transitioning into becoming the ACT, because I know that they're also amping up their test as well. And what changes are they making? Yeah,
so I would say the new SAT does look much more similar to the ACT. And like you were mentioning, the ACT is making some changes too to be aware of, and that's going to be strictly the essay portion of the ACT. Whereas in all previous tests, it was just a persuasive essay where you're given some kind of policy and how to argue one side or the other. On the new ACT essay, you're actually going to have to analyze other people's points of view about a topic. So there's going to be more analysis involved. You get 10 extra minutes, so now you'll have 40 minutes of the essay instead of the 30 in previous tests. But that change is going to happen right away. So if you're signed up for the September ACT of this year, you have to be prepared for that new ACT essay.
That's going to be me in October.
I feel ya. So the 2 takeaway points are to start off with a big college list and to narrow it down with the criteria that Jacob previously mentioned. And it's never too early to start preparing for college.
Also, with the new information that he's provided us on the ACT and the SAT, you should probably take a lot of practice tests in order to see which one is best suited for you. I know you can go on over to Jacob's company and they will provide you with a lot of practice tests to see which one is best suited for you. Also, he's having a promotional offer. Would you like to
Yeah, so starting again this month, we're going to be raffling off 3 free tutoring hours. So whether you want to use those tutoring hours for our subject-specific courses, for anything elementary through college level, or for SAT, ACT preparation, or for help with the college admissions process, you're welcome to use those hours in any way you choose. But feel free to contact us at any time, and then we can get you assigned a tutor.
All right, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Jacob. You're awesome.
Thank you. Oh.
All right, so make sure to subscribe to us, leave a comment if you would like to see us cover any more subjects about the...
Like our Facebook page, comment, subscribe, everything she said. And check out Jacob's awesome tutoring company.
And thank you for watching.
Thank you.
See ya.